It's too late. How many times have you heard that? How many times have you said it to yourself? Most of us accept these limits. We settle into the lives we think we're supposed to have, telling ourselves that certain dreams are for other people. Younger people, more experienced people, people who started earlier. But every once in a while, someone completely rewrites these rules. Meet Lena Kemna. At 24, she was deep into her studies when she first stepped on a surfboard. Fast forward just a few years, and she's paddling out at Nazaré, Portugal, facing waves that tower 8 stories high. This isn't just about learning to surf late in life. This is about what happens when you discover a passion so powerful it forces you to question everything you thought you knew about yourself. Today, Lena shares her story, the doubts, the breakthroughs, the impossible choices, and what it actually feels like to chase something that scares you as much as it calls to you. Because sometimes the best time to start isn't when you're young and fearless. Sometimes it's when you're old enough to know exactly what you're risking and brave enough to do it anyway. This is Where the Ocean Meets Lena Kemna.
Where the Ocean Meets.
Hi Lena, it's great to have you here on the podcast, the first in-person recording. So cool.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, fresh off the plane from, I think, your first big wave surf competition. How was it?
Exactly, yeah. I just had an overnight flight, probably you can see it. It was amazing. Like the competition itself was good, but it was like I did a 15-lesson jet ski training this summer. Okay. And this was actually the last lesson was the competition. So it was like up. It was a dream.
Sounds fantastic. And before we get into your proper surfing, there's one question that I asked myself during the preparation. When was the last time you half-assed something?
It's not really my style to half-ass.
Yeah, that was my impression.
No, not really. I mean, I don't do everything, but it's also something I struggle with. But usually when I do things, I do dedicate myself full on, which doesn't mean that I don't take rest or I don't take breaks, but I'm quite full on in everything I do.
Even the resting you don't half-ass.
No, I'm quite serious about it. I'm quite German about it.
Yeah, there's the saying. I think the way you do something is the way you do anything.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
You're the impersonation of that. Let's talk a little bit about surfing. Based on my research, you started it when you were 24 years old during a surf lesson in Fuerteventura. And in one of the interviews, you mentioned that you were hooked during your very first session. What was it that got you hooked?
Good question, actually, what it was. So when I first started, I think it was autumn. So it was quite a stormy ocean as well, Atlantic, and reminds me a lot of much of the surfing I do today as well. It was quite cold, quite stormy, so it wasn't those perfect healing beginner waves at all. It was survival. And I think something that hooked me, the surf teacher was amazing, was quite good. And also just like being in there, in the power of the ocean, I think that kind of hooked me immediately. So it was also like, even though of course I hardly stood up in my first course, but right from the start it was kind of this very powerful waves. You know, I caught a lot of beatings, I had a lot of scratches. And I think it was this being like out in the elements that caught me right from the beginning.
It's a bit similar to my experience. I started in Biarritz, didn't catch a single wave, but one body surfing wave, and it was completely rough, chaos.
Yeah.
Couldn't orient myself, but when you feel that push, somehow that's a feeling that doesn't go away.
Exactly, that's and just for me it was, I think, not even necessarily catching a wave, just being out there paddling. And even today, on the bigger days when I paddle surf, many sessions I catch 0 waves or 1 wave. So kind of that feeling didn't change until today.
It's beautiful. And it's also a perfect segue because you turned this first experience into a career. And I think the interesting part is you started it basically at age 24 with your first surf lesson. And you're competing in a sport where a lot of pros start as kids. Do you think there's any advantage for starting late?
Well, I think for big wave surfing, one advantage is mindset, for sure. Because I had the chance to surf Nazaré already a couple of years ago, and I didn't take it. I intuitively felt like I wasn't fully ready, and I did a couple more years of like surfing bigger waves, paddling. And at some point, I can't even put the finger on it, but I felt like my mindset was there. So this for sure is something that helps starting later. For everything else, I'm not so sure. For me personally, I'm also like, I like to say it, I'm very German, I'm very prepared, I'm very organized, and I build a full career in something independent of surfing. And for me, that gives me a lot of safety. You know, I'm someone, I really like financial stability, I really like safety in the water, but also out of the water. So knowing I have like a full, actually my plan B is much better than my plan A. So I have a really solid plan B that gives me kind of a lot of security to perform better in the water. So that would be the only advantage, which is something that most athletes don't have, or maybe when they're my age now, I'm 30, or maybe when they're 35, 40, that's when they start thinking about it. So I kind of did the other way around.
That's interesting, because my thoughts were also like, as a small kid, right? You're not afraid of anything. You're taking risks, and this is such a risky sport. But we will get to that point. And there was one thing that I also saw in my research, which I think was a bit of a milestone, probably towards your career, which was a wave that you caught in Bali, I think.
Yeah.
And you say that were not a good surfer at that point.
No, I was a terrible surfer.
How did you catch that wave?
Just commitment. So I paddled out. It was a bit of a bigger day, and I actually have a photo of it. And the wave is not tiny, so it's bigger than overhead. So it's like not double overhead, but I'm quite small. It was maybe 1.5 times my size, and I was a full-on beginner, so I wasn't able to duck dive a wave. So it was quite solid for a beginner. And I remember being out there and being quite afraid, and then people just cheered me on, and I was like, okay, I was a bit frustrated with myself not catching anything, and so I thought I might as well try. And I just gave it my all, paddled in and dropped that wave, and I literally remember it as if it was yesterday. That feeling of dropping that wave and the power, and the same as my beginner course in Fuerteventura, that feeling hasn't changed. The size of the wave changed, of course, but that feeling of dropping that first wave is exactly the same.
Yeah, and there are these waves, I think, that you play as a mental movie again and again. Everybody has probably a top 3 in their mind that ever surfed. Is that in the top 3, that wave?
I think so. I would say so, because it's just so memorable. And I remember the color of the water was kind of gray. It was a bit of an ugly day, which is also something I really, really like usually. So I remember it very vividly, and also just this instant understanding of like, okay, I think this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. It was instantly clear that this is the way I want to surf.
Because there was another question that I had. Did that wave already teach you something about your capabilities that you didn't know you had before you caught that wave?
I think so. I think it's or more the enjoyment. I was like, okay, like this is really fun. And I think I want to do that more. I think that was the main thing.
For me, the first time I caught a proper wave, I was like, okay, this is a whole different thing than these beginner waves. Like the raw power, the energy that you feel is so much stronger. And that overrides, for me personally, the fear a lot in the water. It's like this enjoyment of it.
100%, yeah. And actually that feeling not of like riding along a wave, up and down and doing maneuvers, which is great fun as well, but actually this moment of just dropping down the wave it takes a long time, because you're dropping down a mountain. Like this is just beautiful.
Can you describe that a bit more for somebody that has never surfed before? Maybe we even take that wave and you take us through your mental movie of surfing that bigger wave in Bali.
Of how it goes, yeah. No, I'll take another wave.
Okay.
I take another one of my other most memorable wave, which was also a paddle wave, so not a jet ski, because once you put jet ski in the equation, it's completely different. It's almost a different sport. So another very memorable wave was one of the largest paddle days I've ever surfed, and I surfed it with a gun. It's a surfboard which is 9'6", so it's almost 4 meters. It almost looks like a little kayak. I can hardly carry it. And it was a massive swell. So unbroken waves were like the size of little houses. And this is also something interesting because it was a long period swell, so the waves only come every 20 to 30 minutes. In between, the ocean is flat, and that's what makes it so dangerous. Because sometimes swimmers, people who don't know the ocean well, they go out relatively easily, and then they're in the middle of the mess. To be honest, I was kind of one of them. And when it's so big, the ocean, you paddle out, and for sure you know it from surfing, usually you paddle over waves and you continue. But when the waves are really big, you paddle up and you also paddle down. Because the wave is so big, it's also so large that you actually have to take strokes to paddle down again. And it gives you this feeling in your heart that it sinks a little bit when you're like, ooh. That day I only caught a single wave. I think I spent 2 or 3 hours in the ocean. I didn't manage to catch any waves until I finally did. And that was beautiful. Like, it's exactly what I described of this. You paddle and you have to, sometimes I don't even look back. I know everyone tells beginners or surfers to look back at the waves, to see where it's going. I don't do that. I simply feel, and sometimes you're less afraid if you don't look back, you just trust on your feeling. Don't take my advice necessarily, it works for me. And then you paddle, you give it your all, and then you just feel intuitively, you jump to your feet, and it's unimaginable, this feeling of literally riding down a mountain and seeing kind of the mountain of water just forming underneath you. It's very fun.
Is there anything going on in your head in that moment, or do you go on autopilot? And
I think I go quite on autopilot. Sometimes before, especially on the days when I'm a bit more nervous, I do make a little bit of a plan that usually I don't risk anything. So my base is super, super strong. It's quite low. So I just hold my base really, really strong. Sometimes I surf a bit like a beginner on the bigger days, So I just don't fall. I don't risk anything. And funny enough, I hardly wipe out on the more difficult days, Sometimes I have dry hair after an hour or so.
That's crazy. But before we go into the very big waves, you went to Bali, and my understanding is after that you moved to Portugal.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of a hiccup in between still, because I was still studying and living in the Netherlands. So I had to go back to the Netherlands for 6 months, I think. And this was actually where I prepared my surfing. Because afterwards, during the time, I kind of made a plan to go to Portugal, which luckily worked out. But I had kind of 6 months of being landlocked, no access to surf, and I didn't surf a single time. But I went to the swimming pool almost every single day, crawling, and I think I went up 2 dress sizes in my shoulders. And that actually made my surfing jump to a whole other level without actually being in the ocean.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And this move to Portugal, right? Why I want to double click on that, I think everybody in their life at some point thinks this is the thing for me. Mm-hmm. But then it requires so much change to actually go through with that plan. And I think so many people stop at that moment where they say, I'd really like to do this, or I'm not 100% happy with my life, but I have this passion, but then people don't fully commit. Can you explain what went into your decision to say, I'm leaving everything behind, I'm now moving to Portugal to organize my life around my passion?
So for me, it was quite the other way around. For me, it was the only option I saw. Of course, I was still in my studies, so I went to do my master's degree, and I was very lucky that I managed to convince my parents to pay for university in Portugal instead of going to an equally good one for free in Germany. But if they wouldn't have done that, I would have done something else. So for me, I kind of, it was actually while I was still in Bali, I researched universities where I can study and surf at the same time. And I think it was like a hit of like 10 universities, and 1 to 8 were unaffordable. And I think 9 was England or something, and 10 was Portugal. So I found Portugal, and I was like, okay, it's the only option. So no, it wasn't a hard decision. It was a very clear decision that I was like, it's the only way. I want my life to revolve around the ocean. So that's the clear path.
And how did you feel in your first months after moving to Portugal?
It was all right. The harder part was later, to be honest, because I was still quite a beginner. So I just took the public transport and my surfboard under my arm every single day, and I just went regardless of the forecast. I just went surfing every single day, and I built strength. And I was still kind of in this like university environment. So I improved my surfing. I grew stronger, and it was not so hard. Yeah.
So you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah. I mean,
being in a new place, new language.
yeah, it was. I mean, I didn't love it, to be honest. But very, very luckily, the university part is also always something that comes easily to me. Luckily, so I was able to dedicate a lot of my time to surfing and still manage university.
The university, yeah. Then let's switch gears a little bit, because you're not just surfing, you're big wave surfing. What is big wave surfing?
Big wave surfing is surfing waves above the size of 20 foot, which I'm also very strict about.
Is that because I know the Hawaiians measure the back of the wave, I think?
Yeah.
Others measure the face of the wave, so the front.
Yeah.
Is it the back, or is it the Hawaiian system?
It's the Hawaiian system. In Portugal, we use the Hawaiian system. Exactly. This is also something, the size of the wave is a whole topic in itself, and it's very hard to say. I usually prefer to say head high, double overhead, triple, and so on and so forth. It's a bit easier, but generally the definition is it's big wave surfing from 20 foot or above. And also before that, because people have been calling me big wave surfer for years, and it's always a bit embarrassing. So I always ask to correct it, so they don't give me the name if it's not really the case. And now I can.
It's a badge of honor too.
Yeah, exactly. And now I can finally stop correcting.
No. Besides that one wave in Bali, what were the cornerstone experiences that led you to say, like, you know what, surfing is fun, I'm chasing these giants?
I think it wasn't one big decision, but it's just something on the day-to-day that I really enjoy. I mean, Portugal has really powerful waves, especially during winter anyway. So for the next, I've been living in Portugal now for 10 years. So for the past 10 years, I hardly traveled. So I've been just surfing in Portugal. Most of my surfing has been in Portugal. And I've just been increasing wave size year by year. So I had kind of the best wave and the biggest wave of my life every single winter, sometimes even every single month. So it was just a very continuous step by step. And every single step, I just loved it so much. So there wasn't one critical spot in the surfing part. However, I'm still quite a small, relatively skinny person, but I was a lot skinnier. I don't want to say frail, but I was like a proper skinny lightweight. And I could start feeling that it was deteriorating my body a little bit. So at some point I started doing some strength training. I put on like 10 kilos. I started apnea training. I started freediving. So I upped my physical skills, which really helped my mental skills. And that kind of put things to a whole other level.
And were there moments where you doubted that this is the right sport for you? Any experiences where you got out of the water or woke up in the morning and it's like, what the hell am I doing here?
I had it a little bit in Nazaré this season, because now I did my first big wave season in Nazaré. And I love the wave part, all of it. But the jet ski part is tricky. And also the many jet skis around each other, motor noise, shouting, a lot of swearing in many languages at the same time. So a lot of, not in German, but a lot of English swearing, Portuguese swearing, shouting. Like, it's a very intense environment. And also because I come from paddle surfing, people had very high expectations. They're like, just put her into waves, she's fine. So I had to kind of stop everyone, calm everyone down. There were some moments where I was like, I'm not sure this is for me.
Too hectic, too...
It's just crazy, absolute craziness. And many people are just absolutely crazy. My approach of big wave surfing is very, very unusual. Like, most people are... they have a lifetime of surfing, but most people don't have great apnea skills. Many people are addicted to drugs. Many, if not most people, have mental illnesses, which, it's a great outlet, but it's a crazy environment.
Yeah, there was one of the, this is a bit nerdy topic maybe now for people that don't surf, but if you come to popular spots, typically there's localism, there's a clear pecking order of who gets waves. And I always thought when you have these giants, maybe it's more of a community, maybe it's less of that. But it sounds like it is still hyper competitive and super.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, also Portugal is the spots I usually surf in Ericeira is also very localized. And you put in your time. I put in my time for like 5-6 years, every single day, you know, like on the rainiest, coldest Tuesday morning in November, if you just show up and you're always there. And especially if you start surfing sizes that some of the locals don't surf, that's kind of when you manage to break in. But it took a lot of time, and Nazaré is no different.
And how does it work in big wave surfing? Is there anything like priority or?
Yeah, I mean, in general, you have the same priority rules, but the same as in every surfing, you know?
People drop in.
Yeah, and I'm not someone who is against localism. So it's a very complex system, but I think it also makes sense to have a little bit of a packing order,
especially with regards to jet ski driving skills. Someone who is not an excellent driver should absolutely not be anywhere close to the biggest piece in the city.
Is the skill level of jet ski driver as important as the skill of the surfer?
More important. It's so much more about the jet ski driver. It depends a little bit between the interaction you have. You also have a spotter usually on land on a walkie-talkie, kind of choosing the waves they communicate. But the jet ski driver is way more important. It's first of all for rescue, if they come to rescue or not. The way they put you into waves, it's incredibly important. For example, now this summer I trained with an amazing jet ski driver in Brazil, who's also an amazing surfer. And I could feel that makes a world of a difference because when he chooses the waves and when he puts me in a wave, he already surfed the wave in his mouth. He knows, okay, I'm going to put you because the jet ski driver, they pick you up. They drive around, they see the wave is forming, and they drop you behind the peak, and they adjust speed. So they know exactly what you're going to do, and then they put you off. And then they follow you, pick you up again.
Yeah. How is the communication bonding between jet ski driver and surfer? Is there some distance on the leash?
Yeah.
You're stressed. It's high stakes.
Yeah.
It's chaos. It's loud.
How does it work? So when I surf, I'm quiet. I don't say anything. I let them choose. They know my level. Maybe we talked about it before. Then I say, don't put me in any crazy barrels. That's what I said for Nazaré. Like, I don't want to surf twin foot barrels. No, thank you. Away from it. And I just trust and I'm quiet. However, now that I started driving as well, a jet ski, hula. Like, it's also amazing. If I have a really good surfer, like, they're opinionated. They're going to shout at you. Say, no, sometimes they're so handsome of like left, right. There are also different techniques of like putting the surfer on the wave. But yeah, usually it's loud and it's rough.
Interesting part for me when it comes to extreme sports, especially in Germany, if you scroll down into the comment sections, if it's on major newspapers like Die Zeit or whatever, when somebody's doing base jumping, big wave surfing, you will always have these people saying it's like, it's irresponsible to risk all of that just for the adrenaline, like you have responsibilities, yada, yada, yada. In one of your interviews, you say you are not an adrenaline junkie. You're often the most careful person in the lineup. If not adrenaline, what is it that you seek when you go out there? What is it that drives you to get into these situations?
So first of all, I agree. I'm not an adrenaline junkie at all. And I always say I like to do it kind of inside of my comfort zone. This is also why in Nazaré I insisted so much to progress slowly for, I think, 3-4 sessions, 3-4 extremely expensive sessions. I insisted to tow and surf and wave I can easily paddle. This is just my way of doing it. So no, I'm not a crazy adrenaline junkie. You have a lot of those out there, yes. I think for me, honestly, it's just a pure joy of doing it. Like I just absolutely love it. It's really fun.
Yeah. It goes back a bit to my initial question. If you ever half-ass something, do you think if, I don't know, instead of a surf course, you would have gone skydiving, that you would have tried to do the most extreme version of it?
I don't think so. Because what I like about surfing is that it's a nature sport. It's very deeply connected to nature. So of course, I mean, I'm very lucky. Like Germany is such an outdoorsy country. I got to try a lot of things, and I didn't get hooked on anything else besides surfing until I found freediving, which is very, very different. People think it's complementary, more or less. It's not. For me, it's more a problem to have both of them together in a way. That's suddenly when I found this feeling of having a purpose all over again. But besides this, I don't think so, no.
Because freediving, again, is such a thing where you could have done static apnea to train your lung volume. But again, you chose something that, at least from the outside, people see as very risky. I recently spoke to Anna Schmidt, who broke 2 world records in apnea diving. And she said it's not dangerous because I know exactly what I'm doing. And she says it's not a fight or flight mode in that moment, but it's rest and digest.
Oh, I like that.
And when we see big wave surfing, I think fight or flight. That's what I feel when I'm in the water, at least. And these are polar opposites. Do you feel the same thing?
Yes, I mean, I think big wave surfing is more dangerous than freediving. Of course, I mean, you have the problem of freediving that people drown, but if you respect safety protocols, that risk is very close to zero. Whereas in surfing, we have very little fatal accidents, but we have a lot of injuries. I was very lucky; I never injured myself. But yeah, it's more adrenaline. It's a bit more crazy for sure.
But it also supports obviously your surfing because you know how to hold your breath. But coming back to surfing, there was almost like a break in the story, at least the way that I understood it, where you said you got a bit tired of surfing because of the toxic culture, and you yourself seem to operate quite outside the traditional surf culture.
Yeah.
What do you think is broken about how the surf world works?
Well, I have a lot of things to say about this. I think, unfortunately, for me personally, I experienced German surf culture is extremely negative. Now I've been to Brazil, and it's a whole other story. Like the contest is positive. And even for freediving, I did my first freediving contest this year. I walked in, I did my thing, I walked out with 5 new friends. In Brazil as well. I came as a beginner to the contest, and I left with 3 more friends and connections worldwide and experiences and fun. And in Germany, I only ever did the national championships once, and it was a horrible experience, and I never went back. And I don't have a single friend in the German surf culture.
Really?
I don't have a single one, and it's very negative to say, but like they're all watching my stories and they never like anything, they never comment anything. And even for my film premiere now, that there were a lot of professional surfers, you can see, they don't support. Like in German we say "gönn," like it feels like they don't want to see each other win. And I don't know if that's a German thing. For sure, it's a little bit of a surf culture thing, but for me, German surf culture is extremely negative, unfortunately. I'm trying my best to change that, to change things up a little bit, but it's hard. It's a lot of resistance.
Yeah, because from the outside, surfing is always this hang loose, chill.
Oh, yeah.
You're in nature. And when you're in the lineup, it's swearing, it's competitive, it's super individualistic. And only in certain spots you feel this warmth where there's people there saying, hey, go take this wave, it's a good one, and go have fun. And that's true. I rarely experience Germans in the water doing that or being willing to share. And I think that led you to step back from surfing a little bit for a while, if I understand that right. And you also have a video called My Story of the Last Swell I Surfed, where I think it's exactly about that. And you say it's a story about growing my comfort zone and about gaining something back I had lost. What was it that you were trying to gain back when you paddled out?
Yeah, wow. First of all, you did very good research.
Thank you.
That was the video I made. It's kind of a very important story to me because it's exactly what happened, that I just grew tired of surfing, which is crazy, like it's such a privilege starting surfing late in life, and suddenly it's my career, and I gain my salary from surfing, And I grew tired of it. Of course, I was very lucky. I started freediving in the meantime, and my sponsorships are not exclusively focused on surfing. So luckily, my sponsors are okay if I do freediving content instead, to a certain degree. And I was a bit tired of the town I live in, Portugal, of surf culture in general. Like, it just felt so negative, and no one was like cheering for each other. No one was. I feel like every win I had a lot of jealousy around, which is just tiring and it's frustrating.
Even already that whole year, I was surfing quite little and I was freediving a lot. So in terms of creating content and my sponsorships, it was working well. But still, I still was a little bit frustrated. So I had the opportunity to spend the winter in Nazaré, which is a little island in the Atlantic, part of Portugal as well. And I just went. I was so excited to just get out of there. And it's also the first winter I did not spend in Nazaré, which is where I did most of my surfing. So I packed my freediving gear principally, and also a couple of surfboards. And I wasn't diving much, and I was surfing extremely little. And I mean something like once a month, twice a month. So really extremely little. But then I brought my gun when I explained my huge surfboard, which was a pain in the ass to take it on a plane. A lot of charming convincing with the airline. And I saw kind of like a swell coming, very much towards the end of my stay there, and I was like, okay, I could feel some excitement growing in me that I really wanted to surf that swell with my surfboard. And suddenly kind of the circumstances all aligned, and I managed to surf that larger swell, and it was just beautiful. Like it's a spot where you have to paddle for almost a kilometer to get to the wave. And when you paddle out, you don't see the wave. It's very unique. You paddle from the back of the wave. So it's a bit scary. You're jumping in the ocean. You don't know what you're expecting with like a helmet and the safety gear and the massive surfboard of it. It was so beautiful to just jump out in the ocean and paddle by myself. I didn't know anyone. I'm not even sure there was anyone else in the water early morning already. So it was kind of like all of the factors I really, really liked that just aligned, and I just found him off all over again with surfing, and especially with bigger wave surfing. I was like, you don't have to be in the hustle. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that way of surfing. It's totally fine to just not go. And that specific way of surfing more powerful waves, I was like, yeah, I do read that.
Did that experience change how you approach things? Maybe also what you try to work out, or how you go about your surf career in general?
Yes, I think it made it more clear. But I'm someone I have zero FOMO. I have zero fear of missing out. I surf relatively little. Even like if I don't feel like it, I'm not going. And of course, it's a privilege, like living close to the ocean. But I don't have to surf every day. If I don't want to, I don't go. If it's crowded, I don't go. I go freediving, or I go do something else. So when I do go, I really like.
And I think that you have this principled mindset. It's not just this or that, but you mentioned that you, for example, turned down 2 or canceled 2 sponsorships because the values didn't align. How do you make the economics work of living that lifestyle? Because you're also pursuing PhD, or you are living on a PhD salary, the way that I understand, plus the sponsorships. And big wave surfing is expensive, right? Nobody's charging you the entry ticket for the ocean, but the logistics around it is expensive for I would assume.
So it's a lot of management. And yes, one of the sponsorships I turned down, it was a hard one to turn down because it would have been the best paid one, but it was an alcohol brand and I don't drink. So I was like, it just can't, unfortunately. Like I had this feeling in my stomach and I was just like, I mean, I don't have anything against drinking alcohol, but I just don't do it. And they didn't have an alcohol-free beer, which I do drink a lot. And I just said, unfortunately, I just can't. It doesn't agree with my values. So how to make it work? A lot of management, a lot of attention to details. So I was on a scholarship for PhD. I'm not anymore. And at the same time, I did a lot of social media work and brand sponsorships, which I wasn't allowed to do at the same time as a PhD. So I kind of paused the scholarship in between, wrote all of my invoices, very quickly. And then I kind of, spread it out over these couple of years. And now for scholarship end, I'm about to finish my PhD in 1.5 months. And now actually, full on focusing on getting a couple of new sponsorships to do a full season in Nazaré next winter because it's crazy expensive. How I financed it last year was kind of with a film. So I made a really large media project out of it because it's easier to gain sponsorships with a media project. Yeah.
And I want to stay on the PhD then, because looking at it again, where you can do bachelor, you can do master, the way almost everybody does it. Why that PhD? Why that extreme year?
Good question. Sometimes I regret and so why did I take it? In the end, I think it was after my master's. I finished my master in, I think, 2018. So kind of before the whole COVID working online thing. So it was hard to work online. And I wasn't surfing professionally then. And I was looking for a job where I can continue living by the ocean and having a lot of flexibility. Because I didn't need a lot of money, but I needed to have flexibility and freedom. So it just seemed like a good fit to continue the academic way. And I was able to get a scholarship. So I kind of just followed that path without thinking about it too much. And also I come from an academic family. Every single person in my family has a PhD. Not only close family, but it's pretty much a lot of PhDs. So it wasn't something unfamiliar. And it's also something where my talent lies naturally a lot more, I always say, than surfing or freediving.
In academia.
Yeah.
But the way I understand it, it's still connected to what you do in surfing, right? You're researching, or you did research field management?
No, not many. Not really. Sometimes, people sometimes ask me about the connection, but my PhD is in marketing, and I study brand communities. So it's a very management marketing. Now, towards the very, very end, some of the brand communities I research are from sports world. But until recently, I kept the worlds 100% disconnected. Okay. Yeah. Also in the PhD world, they don't like the surfing thing. They don't like that I have a life outside of the PhD, and vice versa. I also wasn't so sure. So until very recently, I kept the worlds apart.
I was listening to OBS yesterday, and the guest said one of his favorite questions is the following. I'm going to say it in a second. And I thought, it's perfect for this conversation. His favorite question is, who are you and who can you be in the future? Because you wear so many hats, right? Professional athlete, diver, PhD candidate. What else?
Since years, I always say I hope that things stay exactly the way they are and just develop naturally the same progress. Because, you notice now I'm not really to the crazy large steps, but I'm very much into continuous improvement. So I just hope that things just continue developing in that way. My dream, I usually don't like to talk about plans kind of before I made them happen, at least halfway or something. But I'll just put it out. My big dream or plan for next season is to found my own big wave team, which kind of brings the two worlds a bit together, because managing or creating the big wave team is not so mine. It's about athleticism as well, but it's also about management. It's like managing a small company. So that would be the goal. Yeah.
Beautiful. You just managed a little media project. There's just so much going on in your life, and I wonder how much of that big wave surfing, like this preparedness, right? I read that you prepare your car every night before you go to surfing. Gives you peace of mind and all that. Are there other lessons that you transpired from big wave surfing into your professional career, into your professional life?
Oh, a lot. For example, I think it's you gain a lot of confidence. Like if you go into a meeting room with a board of directors, like it's never going to be as scary as a 20-foot wave behind you. I think it gives you a lot of confidence, and it puts things into perspective a lot. It also gives you a sense of what is a real urgency. I don't know, if people want to be mean at you, if people want to intimidate you, like no manager will ever be able to intimidate me as much as some of the people in Nazaré have. because they have real power over you, if they're the jet ski drivers or something like this. So it's
Trapped out of there by big wave surfer.
and it's a small world, you have, especially as a newcomer, and it's not so easy. So it gives you a lot of confidence. It puts things into a big perspective a lot, and it also gives you purpose.
The other thing that I wondered about when looking at all these different worlds that you're connecting is, again, this methodological approach to fix, but then throwing yourself into chaos. And not everything will always go right. What happens to you when things don't go right? What is your metaphor, and how do you handle these situations?
Interesting, because usually things go right, I have to say. No, I mean, of course, like I always say, the dots connect in high speed. So many things where I'm just naturally drawn to do that I don't really know why, and they make sense in hindsight. For example, learning Portuguese. Like surfing in Nazaré and also in Brazil right now without speaking fluent Portuguese is impossible. Unless, of course, if you have more finances, maybe it's easier. Or, for example, I took the captain license. So now I'm allowed to actually legally drive in and out of harbor with a jet ski. All of those things that just, you just have an interest in something and you just follow it. At some point, they will make sense. This definitely is one thing.
Is it a lot of intuition?
I think it's a lot of intuition. It's a lot of planning also, I love my lists, my Excel sheets, and you just write it down. It's a big, messy project, and you just break it down into small, achievable steps. Like, it's not rocket science, and you just follow through with it. And another thing is also, like, I don't aim for big, specific goals. For example, for my first season of Nazaré, I didn't even have a goal of necessarily surfing a huge wave. I said I want to experience it safely. I don't want to get injured. I don't want to have a traumatic experience. That was the only goal I had. And then everything else was like playtime.
That's great. And yet you say that when a big swell's coming, it's hard to sleep the night before.
Yeah.
What is going on in your head?
I don't sleep much anyway. Yeah, I'm getting much calmer now, but also I'm someone, I naturally have very high levels of energy. So usually I wake up naturally around 4 or 5 in the morning, but I also go to bed at 8 or 9. But of course, if something good happens the next day, it's just positive excitement. And that doesn't even have to be a big swell. If it's a big swell, for sure, I will be, if the alarm is at 5, I will be up at 4 naturally. But also if I go hiking the next day and my backpack is already packed and I'm just excited, it's going to be the same.
Okay. Because for me, it's fear. I was in South Africa, the guy that I'm a surfer with said, tomorrow we're going to go to a wave that might be out of the comfort zone. I couldn't sleep the night before, and I was picturing everything that could also go right, but also could go wrong.
Yeah.
And when I was preparing for this interview, obviously you are a free diver, and you also mentioned that you're not necessarily scared of being held down under the wave because hold your breath. Is there anything that scares you?
Yeah, I prepare as much as I can in terms of also equipment. I work with good wetsuits. I don't put on a white wetsuit in the morning. Like, I try to make it as comfortable and as well prepared as I can. And that also means packing my backpack so there's no chaos. I really don't like chaos. I don't like crazy change of plans before. So I prepare as well as I can. But of course, I'm afraid in the water as well. Like, of course, there's a little bit, and how could you not? When you see like a house like chasing you by of water, I do feel a bit scared. Yeah, I try not to be scared out of my mind, and it has happened before. I put on my windsuit when I went paddle surfing, and it just seems crazy messy, and I have turned around. So when I'm too scared, I do this voluntarily. Still, it's supposed to be fun. So if I'm not having fun, I can just go home.
Is mediocrity something that scares you?
Probably secretly, yes. I would say probably publicly. I always say I don't have these big goals, but I do have extremely high standards at myself that I like to hold myself against, also towards other people, to be honest. But yeah, I do have extremely high standards in many ways that I do like to follow, yeah. I think it's a very German thing as well.
But I think it shines through in a very positive way. I told you off camera, I love your social media, and you said you're not optimizing for the algorithms, but the aesthetics of it. And there was the interesting part for me, but I did the research for also to use like every touch point with Lena was hired. Every false to extremely optimized. So yeah, really fascinating story. That brings me to almost my last question. I mentioned earlier, there's probably people that have dreams that are not following it. Is there anything, or what do you want your story to prove to people who think they've missed their window of opportunity for big dreams?
Oh, there is a window, I think. I mean, no, there's no window. I think, I mean, there's many, people always ask kind of, what's your message? What's the message you want to pass? I don't want to pass any message. People can take whatever the message they want to get out of it, you know? If people want to get the message, you can realize your life dream at the age of 30 or 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, take that message. If the message is, I'm going to start a beginner surf course, you know, do that. Something I would love to do more in the future, and that I'm actually building some steps towards, some administrative bureaucracy steps, is I would love to have an association to actually not empower inspirationally, but actually empower in terms of action more people to achieve their dreams in a way that is very life-changing.
Yeah. What I took away is definitely the baby steps.
Baby steps.
Setting realistic goals that you can probably also overachieve.
Yeah.
Them, which makes the entire thing even more enjoyable. But it almost brings us to the end, which I always like to end a rapid fire. And okay, go for your own session. The question I ask everyone: you get to have dinner with a marine animal. You don't get the animal. You can speak the animal's language. Which animal is it and why?
Orca, because they're grumpy, and I also like showy animals. That they seem intelligent, they're grumpy, so 100% orca.
Yeah. Someone tells you you can only keep one, a PhD or big wave surfing.
Of course, big wave surfing. No doubt. Good. I'm just pulling through the PhD because I started.
All right. Which wave is in your bucket list?
It was Ida Quartiada, but then I surfed it 2 days ago. There's one in Ireland I would love to surf.
Namor?
Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Hawaii?
Not so much, because I really don't like crowds. But I'm sure it's going to happen sooner or later.
What's your most experience in the water?
Being dropped in several times with an attempted threat to life by a local, and I had to make a police report.
Your best experience in the water?
So many. So many. Freediving, cave diving, freediving in the canyon of Nazaré, surfing, I don't know, I guess I could name a new best experience still almost every.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
There was something when we chatted before, interview, something that I asked you, what are the topics that we talk enough about? And you said, everybody always asks you about feminism.
First of all, most people asking about feminism was up without understanding feminism. Because I'm so tired of this, like, okay, it's a women's thing. No, it's about choice. Because many people start with the bikini pics and whatever, you know? Like, you can be a feminist and surf in a thong. Totally fine, nothing against it, not what I do. But this is the one part that always gets me angry. And the second thing is about, like, people ask me, what do you think about sexualized surfing? Kind of women being portrayed as this. And in a way, sometimes it reinforces exactly that by only asking me that. Because no one ever asks a man about, like, how do you feel surfing as a man? You know? And I feel like as an athlete, I want to talk about the wave and the performance. And by only asking me about my women's perspective on surfing, you're actually reinforcing exactly the problem.
One other question. just came to mind that I wanted to ask earlier. When you said that there's this envy almost from the outside, do you think this is also just the side effect of being successful?
Probably in a way. In a way, no one seems to be very jealous of my PhD. Maybe I don't make it look that great. Maybe it is, and of course it's the same old story. People don't see the difficulties in between all of this. For example, I had a year of COVID. I had long COVID for a while. I had a lot of things happening. I saw the police report. In the meantime, I also had a stalker who was camped out of my house, out at Oxford Post for like 1.5 years. There are many difficult things that people don't see. So of course it's easier to be jealous. But I do feel like the surfing industry is especially nasty. Because in freediving, I will have fun.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you.
Where the ocean meets.